Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to FearFlix. Today's flick is the return to horror for director James Wan, and it's called Malignant. It was released recently on HBO Max, and it's the first horror film for James Wan since The Conjuring 2. And no, all those other recent shitty horror spin-offs like The Nun and Annabelle do not count, as James Wan had nothing to do with those films other than having his name slapped on as an executive producer to lure in unsuspecting fans. Malignant is the first legitimate directorial return for James Wan to the genre that made him a household name. That being said, here's my review of the 2021 horror film, Malignant. Right from the strange and over-the-top opening scene, Malignant is very different from what you'd expect from a James Wan film in pretty much every way. If you're going in expecting another Insidious or The Conjuring film, there's a decent chance you'll be let down. This movie almost has the feel of an 80s B-movie with a bit of a modern twist to it. Definitely nothing like what I was expecting. It sort of feels like the type of movie that might gain more popularity with time and with more viewings. Not so different from the B-movies of the 80s, and especially giallo, I think I'm pronouncing that right, films of the 70s, which Malignant is very much inspired by. These are movies essentially about a gloved killer stalking a female protagonist with some sort of supernatural or telepathic element to the story. The main character in this story, Maddie, is a very troubled character who basically ends up having hallucinations of a series of murders being committed by a mysterious and physically deformed killer, seemingly as they're happening. Maddie tries to figure out why she's having these horrifying visions and why she feels a connection to the mysterious killer. I really don't want to say too much more about the plot, just because this is one of those films you kind of have to just see to believe. It's a non-stop, batshit crazy roller coaster, and you've probably already heard buzz about the third act of this film. Now, I can definitely confirm that yes, the final act of Malignant is absolutely crazy and gory as all hell. The cinematography is incredible as always, with just gorgeous looking sets and flawless camera work. There's even some moving first-person shots that are clearly an homage to Sam Raimi's classic camera work from The Evil Dead. Malignant is very much an amalgamation of many different horror styles and subgenres, and you can really see these different inspirations coming through in James Wan's visuals here. It's like the use of color and light in this film is just absolutely magnificent. One of the things that's always frustrated me about modern horror films is the obsession so many have with trying to make everything look as drab and colorless as possible, as if everything having an ugly bluish gray color automatically equals a scarier film. James Wan proves here that you can make a horror film that's beautiful to look at while also capturing a dark and creepy atmosphere, which he does here. The music is once again done by Joseph Bishara, who has become a James Wan staple at this point. He does an incredible job again, as he always does. The music sets the tone of this film perfectly and never really feels recycled from any of James Wan's previous horror films. You can tell the music was specifically crafted for the type of movie that they wanted to make, and in my opinion, it does its job flawlessly. Now, as for the negatives of Malignant, I think I would say my main problem is that we don't really take enough time early on to learn who these characters are. We're just kind of dropped into this world where bad shit is happening to people without any clear reason or cause. It just kind of feels like there's maybe an entire opening act missing from the film. Like there could have been maybe another, 20 minutes or so at the beginning to establish where we are, who we're with, and just, what the hell is going on. To be fair though, the film does dive much deeper into the characters as it goes on, so it's not too much of a problem, but even after the film was over, I was still kind of left feeling like I hadn't really gotten to know much about the characters. So I'd say that would have to be a downside of this film for me. I'd also have to say that there's quite a bit of strange and poorly written dialogue as well, which really kind of surprised me. The detective characters in particular have some really weird and out of place lines in this that just left me scratching my head. I get that the tone of this film wasn't intended to be 100% serious, but the dialogue definitely could have been a lot better. Again, just my opinion. Aside from that, while the final act of the movie is balls to the wall, just batshit crazy and a ton of fun, I think the way the story wraps is kind of underwhelming and a bit anticlimactic. Especially after how much craziness there is in this movie, I was expecting a much more interesting and, I guess, epic ending, but it just kind of ends up coming off a bit rushed and honestly kind of cheesy. The reaction so far to Malignant has been pretty divided, with seemingly half of viewers loving how out of the box and crazy it is, while the other half seem to find it far too ridiculous to the point where it's just not scary at all. I'd say for me, I'd put myself a bit more in the former of those camps. Initially, I was a bit worried with how over the top and weird the movie was, especially at the beginning, but as it went on, I found myself really getting into it and having a ton of fun watching it, and I definitely plan on rewatching it in the future. So while some aspects disappointed me, I'd have to give Malignant a thumbs up. James Wan is one of my favorite directors, so if you're a big James Wan fan at all, you're probably going to check this film out no matter what the critics say, no matter what viewers say, no matter what I say, but just don't go into it expecting something as creepy or atmospheric as Insidious or The Conjuring, because this is a very different style of film, and it's definitely clear that he had a lot of fun making it, and I think I definitely had fun watching it. This is definitely a film to be watched on a windy and rainy fall night with the windows open, the sound of tumbling leaves in the background, just adding to the soundscape of the experience. But I'd love to know your thoughts on Malignant, so do me a favor and leave a comment down below and let me know what you thought of Malignant. Did you love it or hate it, or do you plan to check it out or plan to skip this one? If you enjoyed this video, please do me a favor, hit that like button, and please subscribe for more new videos coming in the very near future. It's the Halloween season. I'm incredibly excited that it's here. Hopefully you're enjoying the season so far. It's blowing by as it always does, but thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time on FearFlix.